Some moments make headlines, others make history. What you're about to witness isn't just a prank gone wrong. It's a masterclass in dignity, discipline, and what real strength looks like. If you believe respect still matters in this world, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us till the end. Because today, a royal guard didn't just catch a flying soda can, he caught the attention of the world. The autumn sun cast a soft amber glow over Buckingham Palace, dancing across its gilded gates and ancient stonework. It was the kind of afternoon where history felt alive, whispered in the rustle of the trees, and echoed in every careful footstep on the cobblestones. Standing tall beneath that golden light was Elliot Graves, a 31-year-old royal guard whose posture seemed carved from stone. But this was no ordinary soldier on parade. Elliot had served 3 combat tours. He had buried a brother who wore the same uniform. To him, this wasn't a job. It was a promise to serve, to honor, and never waver. Tourists crowded the square. Some whispered in awe, others snapped photos. But then came Logan Pierce, a TikToker from Los Angeles with over 500,000 followers and a shirt that read, "Savage Kings." Logan didn't come to admire tradition. He came to break it and catch it all on camera. With his phone live streaming, Logan mocked, posed, and shouted. He strutted up to the barrier like a peacock in sneakers. And when that didn't get the reaction he wanted, he raised a cold, half-full soda can, smiled for his fans, and threw it straight at Elliot's face. The crowd gasped. What happened next? It silenced an entire square and humbled the internet. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't move an inch. As the half-full soda can sailed through the crisp London air, hundreds of phones were raised. Some were live, others recording, but no one, not even the boy who threw it, was prepared for what happened next. With the grace of a man forged in combat and honed by discipline, Elliot Graves lifted his right arm. In one fluid motion, honed by years of military training, he caught the can mid-air, just inches from his face. Not a single drop hit his scarlet coat, not a wrinkle in his posture. And yet, the entire square fell silent. For the first time that afternoon, Elliot's eyes moved. They locked onto the boy who threw the can, Logan Pierce, a TikToker from Los Angeles whose arrogance had finally outpaced his understanding. The silence was thick. Then came Elliot's voice, low, steady, and commanding. That would be quite enough. No shouting, no anger. Just 2 words, spoken with a weight that could crack stone. And in that moment, Logan Pierce, a young man used to millions of likes and viral pranks, realized he'd made a mistake no filter could fix. He tried to laugh it off at first. Come on, it's just a joke. But nobody was laughing. Not the families, not the veterans, and certainly not the man who just caught the can meant to humiliate him. Elliot took one measured step forward. His boot struck the cobblestone with a heavy, deliberate thump, like a gavel dropping in a courtroom. And then he spoke. "This uniform is not a costume," he began, voice carrying across the square like a tide rolling in. "It represents generations of sacrifice. It stands for honor, for discipline, and for the men and women who gave everything so that people like you could enjoy the freedoms you now take for granted." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Phones were still filming, but now they weren't capturing a prank. They were documenting a lesson, a moment, a reckoning. Logan's phone, still live in his hand, continued broadcasting. But the comments had turned. What a disgrace. This guard's a hero. Dude, apologize. Now? Elliot continued. You wanted a reaction, you got one, but not the kind you expected. You see, strength isn't about shouting the loudest or acting the boldest. It's about knowing when to stand firm even when every part of you wants to move. My brother taught me that. Before he died, wearing this same uniform. That line about his brother hit the crowd like a thunderclap. An older woman in the front wiped a tear from her cheek. A man in a wheelchair, a Vietnam veteran by the patch on his jacket, slowly saluted. Then came the clincher. "You came here chasing views, Mr. Pierce," Elliot said, holding up the soda can, "and now you have them, along with a formal charge of assault on a royal guard." At that moment, 2 officers from the Metropolitan Police stepped forward. The crowd parted as they approached Logan, who had gone pale, his smile gone, his swagger gone, his camera still rolling. One of the officers took the can, now marked as evidence. The other turned to Logan. "Sir, you'll need to come with us." "I didn't mean to. I was just trying to..." But it was too late. As the officers led Logan away, the crowd erupted, not in laughter or jeers, but in applause. Thunderous, heartfelt, and rising across the palace square like a wave of approval for something sorely missed in today's world. Elliot didn't smile. He didn't bow. He simply returned to his post, repositioned his rifle, and resumed his stance. Motionless, disciplined, unwavering. And the world watched. Within hours, the video had gone viral, not as Logan intended, but as a testament to restraint, dignity, and real power. News anchors played it in slow motion. Veterans praised Elliot as a soldier's soldier. Even Buckingham Palace issued a quiet statement of support. As for Logan, sponsors dropped him, followers vanished. His apology video, shaky and rehearsed, only made things worse. He wasn't famous anymore. He was a cautionary tale. But Elliot, he became something else entirely. A symbol, not just of the British military, but of everything we often forget in the digital age. That true strength doesn't show off. It stands still. It holds the line, and when necessary, it acts with precision. Logan Pierce stood frozen, his phone still live in one hand, his bravado leaking away with every second of silence. Around him, the energy had shifted completely. What started as a stunt was now something very different, something raw, heavy, and deeply human. Elliot Graves remained composed, standing tall in his scarlet uniform with the soda can still gripped firmly in his gloved hand. But his voice, though calm, had cut through the chaos like a blade. "You came here for attention, Mr. Pierce. Well, now you have it." The crowd murmured, whispers of respect, shame, awe. A child no older than 7 clutched his mother's hand and asked, "Why did that man throw a drink at the soldier?" The mother bent down slowly and replied, "Because some people don't understand what real service looks like, sweetheart." The veteran in the Purple Heart cap stepped forward, just enough for Logan to see him clearly. He didn't say a word, just placed his hand over his heart and nodded at Elliot. That single gesture carried more weight than 1,000 angry words ever could. Logan stammered, I didn't mean anything by it. It was just a joke." But no one laughed. Not anymore. Elliot raised the can slightly and read the TikTok handle written across it. "Your name is here. Your audience is watching. Let's make sure they understand the full message you sent today." At that moment, 2 palace security officers appeared at the edge of the crowd. Their pace quickened as they made their way through the gathering, one of them holding a radio to his shoulder. Logan's eyes darted around for an escape. His friends? Gone. Disappeared into the crowd the moment things turned serious. His phone still captured everything, the trembling lip, the fear behind his sunglasses, the quiet unraveling of a social media persona under real-world consequences. One of the officers stepped behind him. "Sir," the officer said firmly, placing a hand on Logan's shoulder, "you'll need to come with us." "Why, I didn't touch him," Logan blurted out. It didn't even spill. But before the officer could respond, a woman near the front raised her phone. "I got it all," she said. "From the moment he mocked the guard to the second he threw that drink. It's in 4K. Another voice chimed in, "Same here. I sent it to the police already." Phones were everywhere now, not to celebrate Logan's prank, but to document his downfall. Footage was being uploaded, shared, reported, and none of it made him look cool. It made him look cruel, thoughtless, small. One of the officers retrieved the can from Elliot with care. "This will be logged as evidence." Elliot offered it without a word, then adjusted his rifle, squared his shoulders, and resumed his post. But just before turning his gaze forward, he gave Logan one final look. Not angry, not bitter, but filled with a quiet, undeniable disappointment. It was the kind of look that lingered long after a sentence ends. And then he was still once more. The crowd erupted, not in shouts, but in thunderous applause. It started with the veteran, then rippled outward. Parents, grandparents, visitors from around the world. Some clapped, others held hands to their hearts. A few even saluted. A young man in the crowd removed his baseball cap and said aloud, "Now that's what it means to serve." The mother with the little boy leaned down again. "If you ever wear a uniform one day," she said softly, "remember what you saw here. That's real strength. That's honor." By now, Logan was being escorted away. His once proud walk had become a shuffled, silent exit, the cameras still recording every step of his walk of shame. Some viewers would later describe that moment as the end of his social media empire. His brand sponsors pulled out, his apology video fell flat, his account went dark. But what remained? The image of Elliot Graves standing calm, dignified, and unshaken. That moment would be replayed for years to come, featured on morning news shows, veteran tributes, and even shown at leadership seminars. Headlines like, "Royal Guard stops prank with one perfect catch." "Strength and stillness, viral moment teaches world a lesson." When honor went viral, the soda can itself was placed in a glass display at the Royal Military Academy, alongside the caption, "Caught without force, remembered forever." Sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is stand still, not for himself, but for what he represents. So if this story reminded you of the values we should still hold dear, dignity, respect, restraint, then do one small thing for this God who never asked for praise. Tap that like button, subscribe for more stories that matter, and share this with someone who believes tradition still has a place in today's world. As the two police officers led Logan Pierce away from Buckingham Palace, the crowd parted like the Red Sea. There were no cheers, no boos, just silence. The kind of silence reserved for moments that matter. Phones were still raised, but they weren't capturing content. They were capturing consequence. Logan's once proud posture had wilted. His shirt, which read "Savage Kings," now clung to his back like a cruel joke. He glanced nervously at his phone, still recording his own public disgrace. The live stream had thousands of viewers, but none of them were laughing anymore. The comments scrolling past were brutal. Disrespect backfired hard. "This isn't funny, it's pathetic. That guard just taught you a masterclass in real strength." One young man in the crowd, probably no older than 25, shook his head and muttered, "Bet he thought this would go viral for the right reasons." An older gentleman nearby, a Vietnam veteran judging by the faded insignia on his ball cap, turned and replied, "It did, just not the way he planned." Back in position, Elliot Graves stood tall once again, his eyes fixed forward, his rifle steady, his dignity untouched. The sunlight struck his uniform just right, making the brass buttons gleam like medals of character. But now the crowd no longer saw a tourist attraction. They saw a man, they saw service, and more than that, they saw the meaning behind the silence. Parents explained the moment to their children in hushed tones. A mother crouched beside her teenage daughter and said, "He didn't move, he didn't shout, he didn't retaliate, but everyone knew who the real man was." A boy tried to mimic Elliot's posture. His father corrected him gently. Not just the pose, son, it's about the heart. Over near the gates, a young couple spoke to the Purple Heart veteran who'd stepped forward earlier. Sir, the woman asked, do all guards train like that? He nodded, emotion soft in his voice. Yes, ma'am, and most of them never get noticed. They stand in the heat and the cold and the rain every single day. And they do it not for attention, but because it matters. She looked back at Elliot, tears welling in her eyes. He caught that can like a superhero. No, the veteran said quietly. A superhero would have shown off. That man just showed us what real control looks like. The footage spread quickly. Within hours, it was on morning news shows across the U.S. Segments aired on Good Morning America and Fox and Friends. The headline across one network read, Stillness and Strength, Royal Guard turns TikTok prank into global teaching moment. Military veterans called in to share their reactions. One former Marine said, I've never been so proud of a man I've never met. That moment reminded me why we serve. But what happened to Logan? Well, his sponsors dropped him. He was banned from entering the UK for 5 years. He was fined thousands of pounds, and most painfully for him, his reputation was ruined. His apology video posted the next day came off as flat. People weren't in the mood for excuses. They'd seen the real story unfold live. They'd seen the arrogance, the disrespect, and they'd seen the quiet force of discipline rise above it all. As for Elliot, a private commendation was given in a closed ceremony, just as he preferred. He didn't want fame. He didn't want headlines. He only said one thing at the event. I simply did what every guard before me has done. Hold the line with honor, with respect, and without breaking. The soda can he caught was later encased in glass and added to an exhibit at the Royal Military Academy, labeled, Silence Served Cold. The legacy. Today, when tourists visit Buckingham Palace, they no longer just take selfies. They speak in softer tones. They keep their distance, and some even place a hand over their heart before walking away. Why? Because they remember the moment a young man tried to provoke and was met with something stronger than fury. He was met with self-control, forged in sacrifice. In a world that rewards noise, this was a moment of quiet power. A man stood still and changed the tone of a generation. If you believe we need more stories like this, stories about real strength, real dignity, and real consequences, then please take a second to like this video, leave us a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We honor them. As the sun began to dip behind the rooftops of Buckingham Palace, casting long golden shadows across the courtyard, the square began to clear. Tourists still lingered, but now they moved differently, slower, more deliberate. Some wiped away tears, others simply stood and stared, replaying what they'd just witnessed. Elliot Graves remained exactly where he had been all along. Unmoved, unshaken, unbent. But in the eyes of everyone who'd seen what happened, he was no longer just a man in a uniform. He had become something more, a living example of what it means to carry a legacy. A small boy, maybe 7 or 8, clutched his souvenir flag and whispered to his mother, "Mom, I want to be strong like that guard." She smiled and bent down to meet his eyes. "You can be," she said gently, "but being strong doesn't always mean fighting back. Sometimes it means standing your ground with honor." Nearby, the veteran who had first stepped in wiped the brim of his cap and looked toward the young guard. 30 years in uniform, he said to no one in particular, and I've never seen anything finer. Across the world, the video continued to spread. News anchors spoke not about scandal or outrage, but about restraint, self-control, and the deeper value of ceremonial roles. They explained to younger audiences what many older Americans already knew in their bones. It's not always the loudest person in the room, who commands the most respect. The moment inspired veterans, parents, teachers. It reminded people that even in a fast-paced, attention-seeking world, some things still matter. Discipline, tradition, doing the right thing when no one expects you to. And Logan Pierce? His face was no longer admired. His clips no longer celebrated. Instead, he became a cautionary tale. The man who tried to mock centuries of service for 10 seconds of internet glory and wound up humbled, not by force, but by a soldier who never raised his voice. But the bigger story wasn't about Logan at all. It was about what Elliot stood for and what millions of people remembered from the guards they'd seen on family vacations, in black and white footage, or passing by quietly during state ceremonies. It was about a code that doesn't need updating because it doesn't age. A code of honor. A code where silence can speak louder than a speech, and where stillness can be more powerful than a punch. The lesson: in a world of clout chasing and instant gratification, we need reminders like this. We need moments that show our children and our grandchildren that respect isn't old-fashioned. It's timeless. That it's okay to stand up for what matters, even if that means not moving at all. So, if this story stirred something in you, if it reminded you of what you were taught growing up, to respect the uniform, to honor the flag, to hold yourself with dignity even when tested, then don't let this just be a video. Let it be a reminder, because men like Elliot Graves, they don't ask for praise, they don't need the spotlight, but they sure as hell deserve it. Tap that like button to show your respect. Share your thoughts or stories of real service in the comments. And subscribe to our channel for more stories that don't just entertain, they stand for something.